Fokker Eindecker, 1915. The Fokker Eindecker is considered one of the starting points of modern air combat. In the early years of World War I, aircraft were mostly used for reconnaissance, and even if pilots carried weapons with them, it was nearly impossible to engage in effective aerial combat. What made the Fokker Eindecker revolutionary was its synchronized machine gun system. This system allowed the pilot to fire directly forward without damaging the propeller. This technology gave Germany a serious, albeit brief, air superiority. During this period known as the Fokker Scourge, Allied aircraft were left vulnerable against German fighters. The Eindecker was not fast, but it was balanced, sturdy, and reliable for its time. Its main significance was that it demonstrated that an aircraft could be more than just a flying platform. It could become a direct weapon. This plane laid the foundation for the concept of the fighter aircraft. Fokker Dr.I, 1917. The Fokker Dr.I is one of the most iconic aircraft of World War I. Its triplane design may seem unusual at first glance, but this structure gave the plane exceptional maneuverability. Built more for agility than speed, the Dr.I gave its pilots a significant advantage in close-range air combats. This aircraft is a symbol of an era when air battles were won largely through individual pilot skill. Fights involving the Dr.I often ended with sharp maneuvers and sudden turns lasting just a few seconds. One of its most famous users was Manfred von Richthofen, known as the Red Baron, and the aircraft became legendary alongside him. The Dr.I represents the romantic yet extremely deadly era of air warfare. Junkers Ju-87 Stuka, 1935. The Ju-87 Stuka is an aircraft that has become a symbol of the dive bombing concept. Its ability to dive at a steep angle toward the target and release bombs with high accuracy made it extremely effective in the early years of the war. However, what made the Stuka truly famous were the sirens mounted on its landing gear. These sirens produced a terrifying sound as it approached the target area, creating a significant psychological impact on enemy soldiers. The Stuka was devastating when air superiority was achieved. However, due to its slow and vulnerable design, it suffered heavy losses against fighter aircraft. This plane represents the power of tactics and psychological warfare more than technology. Heinkel, He-111, 1935. The Heinkel. He-111 was one of the main bombers that formed the air component of the Luftwaffe's Blitzkrieg doctrine. In the early years of the war, it was considered fast, modern, and agile enough to evade the fighter planes of the era. Designed for medium-range bombing missions, this aircraft targeted enemy infrastructure, transportation routes, and industrial centers. The significance of the He-111 lay not only in its bomb load, but also in its role in the war doctrine. Germany aimed to paralyze the enemy by using air power in coordination with ground forces. However, as the war progressed, Allied fighter planes became stronger, and the He-11-1 became vulnerable. Nevertheless, it served throughout the war as one of the Luftwaffe's most frequently used bombers. Messerschmitt, Bf-109. The Messerschmitt Bf-109 was Germany's main fighter aircraft throughout World War II. Its simple yet effective design made it suitable for mass production, and with its constantly developed variants, it served from the beginning to the end of the war. Its rapid climbing ability made it extremely effective in interception missions. The Bf-109 was the backbone of Luftwaffe pilots. Thousands of pilots trained in this aircraft and went into battle. However, its narrow landing gear and difficult takeoff landing characteristics always posed risks for pilots. Despite this, the Bf-109 went down in history as one of the most produced and most frequently engaged fighter aircraft of the war. Focke-Wulf FDW-190, 1941. The Focke-Wulf FDW-190 is considered one of the most successful and feared fighter aircraft developed by the German Luftwaffe during World War II. When it began appearing on the front lines in 1941, it came as a huge surprise to Allied pilots. Compared to the Bf-109, which had until then formed the backbone of German air power, it was a stronger, more durable, and more versatile platform. One of the most important features that set the FW-190 apart from its rivals was its use of an air-cooled radial engine. This type of engine was much more resistant to battle damage than liquid-cooled engines. Even if the aircraft sustained heavy damage, the engine could continue running, significantly increasing the pilot's chances of survival. Additionally, the high power provided by the engine gave the FW-190 superior performance, especially at low and medium altitudes. Messerschmitt Me-262, 1944. The Me-262 is a revolution in aviation history. As the world's first operational jet fighter, it effectively ended the era of propeller-driven aircraft. Its speed far surpassed that of Allied fighter planes, and it was almost unstoppable in hit-and-run tactics. However, the Me-262 was far ahead of its time. Its jet engines were unreliable, there was a significant fuel shortage, and the number of experienced pilots was insufficient. Additionally, it was deployed in the final stages of the war, so it remained limited in numbers. Nevertheless, the Me-262 is considered the ancestor of modern jet fighter aircraft. Republic F-84F Thunderstreak, 1956. The Republic F-84. Thunderstreak is one of the most important aircraft, symbolizing the rebirth of the German Air Force after World War II. With the establishment of the Luftwaffe in 1956 following West Germany's accession to NATO, the jet age was directly entered with this aircraft. The F-84F holds a historically critical place as one of the first modern jet fighter bombers used in Germany's rearmament process. The Thunderstreak is an improved version of the straight-wing F-84 Thunderjet, but its most significant difference is the swept-wing design. This design provided the aircraft with higher speed and better aerodynamic performance. In the early period of the Cold War, speed in European skies was the key to survival, and the F-84F was designed to meet this need. The aircraft was primarily used for ground attack, nuclear weapon delivery, and tactical bombing missions. Lockheed F-104 Starfighter 1960. The Lockheed F-104 Starfighter holds a special place in the history of the German Air Force as one of the most radical and controversial fighter jets of the Cold War era. Entering the West German inventory in the 1960s, the F-104 represented the Bundesluftwaffe's transition to the supersonic age, but it was also remembered for serious controversies and painful experiences. The design philosophy of the F-104 is very clear: maximum speed and climb performance. Thanks to its very thin and small wing structure, the aircraft could reach Mach 2 speeds and climb to high altitudes in a very short time. With these characteristics, the F-104 was primarily designed as an interceptor. In other words, its mission was to catch and neutralize enemy bombers as quickly as possible. In this respect, the Starfighter truly lived up to its name in terms of performance. However, this extraordinary speed also came with serious costs. The small wings made the aircraft extremely unforgiving at low speeds. Canadair Sabre, F-86. The Canadair Sabre is one of the aircraft that played a key role in the reconstruction of the German Air Force during the early Cold War period. Essentially a version of the American F-86 Sabre produced under license in Canada. This aircraft entered the West German inventory from the late 1950s and became one of the Bundesluftwaffe's first reliable air defense platforms. One of the biggest challenges for post-World War II Germany was transitioning gradually and safely into modern jet aviation. The Canadair Sabre precisely met this need. With its balanced flight characteristics, good maneuverability, and pilot-friendly design, the aircraft quickly earned the trust of German pilots. Especially for Bundesluftwaffe personnel who were still inexperienced in the jet age, the Sabre became as instructive a platform as a training aircraft in the transition to modern air combat. Panavia Tornado. The Panavia Tornado is a multi-role combat aircraft developed during the most critical periods of the Cold War and formed the backbone of the German Air Force for many years. The Tornado, a joint project of Germany, the United Kingdom, and Italy, is not just an aircraft, it is a tangible product of Europe's collective defense will. With its introduction into the Bundesluftwaffe inventory, Germany became one of the pioneering countries in modern air combat doctrines. The design philosophy of the Tornado was shaped to directly respond to the greatest threat of the time, the dense air defense systems of the Warsaw Pact. For this reason, the aircraft was built on a concept of flying at very high speeds at low altitudes, slipping beneath radar coverage. Its variable geometry wings provided the Tornado with stability, both at high speeds and low altitudes. When the wings were swept back, speed and penetration increased, and when the wings were extended, takeoff and landing safety improved. Eurofighter Typhoon. The Eurofighter Typhoon is the main combat aircraft of the modern German Air Force and one of the most advanced platforms in the European defense industry. Developed as a joint project by Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, and Spain, the Typhoon was designed to respond to the changing threat perceptions of the post-Cold War era. This aircraft is a concrete demonstration of Germany's goal to be not only a defender, but also a high-tech deterrent air power. The design philosophy of the Eurofighter revolves around the concept of air superiority. The aircraft's delta wing structure and forward-placed canards provide extremely high maneuverability. Thanks to its thrust-to-weight ratio, the Typhoon can gain an advantage over its opponents in vertical climbs and sudden changes of direction. These features demonstrate that in modern air combat, not only firepower but also energy and maneuver management are crucial.